Marshall has made it to another offseason, and we are looking to move on to the next generation of recruits in this series as we enter season number 4 after this episode. And we made it to the college football playoff for the second time in this series, making it once in season 1, our second time now in season 3, and now I think it's time for a big upgrade on this team. I think we need to take it to the next level. We've won 2 conference championships, and now we look ahead to the offseason to really solidify ourselves in the NCAA. Now, in the national championship, we had 2 Big Ten teams, and both teams, a sneak preview, will be moving back to the Pac-12. But first, Oregon goes for their second straight national championship, led by Sam Leavitt, who is a transfer quarterback, has now played for 3 schools so far in this series, starting at Michigan State, then going over to Iowa State, then over to Oregon. And now USC is led by Childs, who is a very good quarterback with number 20, a very odd number for a QB. But as I've seen in this game, recruits out in the West, and especially quarterbacks, are really, really good. So USC is going to continue to get these really good quarterbacks, while Oregon seems to be getting these transfer quarterbacks. So here we go. Starting out in the national championship, here is Leavitt going down in the pocket, and USC doesn't have a particularly great defense, but good enough to get to the national championship. They're 14-1. Here is a sack this time on Childs. He goes down, and Oregon will get the stop there. So both defenses showing up so far in the first quarter. But here's Childs in the red zone. Here's a throw to the end zone. This one is caught, and a touchdown. USC strikes first. They won the Big Ten championship, defeating Purdue, and they take the 10-0 lead at that point. And now we're at the end of the first half. Here's Childs throwing to the right side, finding his tight end who breaks a tackle, and he's off to the races. Down the sideline, tackled at about the 6. And Childs already with 1 touchdown pass, going for number 2 here before halftime. We'll see if he can get it on a 4th and goal at the 1. Running the option, pitching it out to us, running back, and he gets in. What a clutch pitch right there to end the first half. And USC takes the 2-score lead. But into the second half now, third quarter, Sam Leavitt will find his top receiver on the outside, beating press coverage, and it's Dickey here wearing number 99 at receiver, and he will score and bring it within a 1-score game. So on to the fourth quarter. Here is Leavitt with the big pass down the left sideline. It's Dickey with his second touchdown catch of the day. And how about this? Oregon coming all the way back in this one, taking the lead in the fourth quarter. I have heard in this game that Oregon is a little nerfed, so we'll see if they come home with their second national championship in a row. But here is Childs getting this team back in to scoring range. A nice throw inside the 5 right there. They lose a bunch of yards here for a second and goal at the 14-yard line, but it does not matter. They will score here and tie this ball game up and go into overtime. So in the first overtime, Oregon strikes first here, and they will score from 1 yard out, but USC quickly answers back with a big 25-yard touchdown pass to the end zone. Childs looking for Zachariah Branch, and he will get it there. And now they have to start going for these 2-point conversions. First, Childs converts here. He will score. And now Oregon with Sam Leavitt. Do they answer back, or is that the game? Leavitt throws to the end zone. USC sends an all-out blitz. It does not work. Back to Oregon now for the first one of this next overtime period. Here's a throw to the right side. It's knocked away. So all USC has to do is punch it in from 3 yards out, 2.5. But here is Childs trying to run the option. He gets stuffed. So on to the third overtime. Here is Childs moving, running, diving, touchdown. And now Oregon must answer back. They come in here with the jumbo formation. Here is a dive and a stop. USC will win the national championship, stopping Oregon from going back-to-back here in this series. And that's where we pick up here in the offseason. So one thing I do want to highlight here in this series is that I want to continue to recruit high school players. We will not be building this team through the portal, even though we will look at the portal and recruit maybe one, maybe two guys a year, possibly, but not too many guys will come out of the portal. We have some very good coordinators now. Adam Linden, who's been with us this entire journey, has a lot of the master motivator tree unlocked. As you can see, we get a lot of off-season stuff from defensive linemen, from linebackers for him, and I really like that, and he's not going to go anywhere unless he's hired by another team. I'm not even sure you can do that in this game. Can other teams hire your coordinators? I'm not even sure. But here is our tree here as the head coach. We have the passing game motivator here, so I definitely want to make sure that all of our quarterbacks get the max off-season boost. And as you can see, our coach stability grade and coach prestige grade, both at an A- and A respectively. So that's pretty cool. One thing that EA added to the game is the ability to modify player ratings. And one thing that is kind of annoying is there are no like elite level players, like guys that are like 99 overall, 95 to 97, like none of those guys. Like I think the max overall I've seen, at least so far in season number 3 up to season number 3, has been like 94 overall. So what I will go ahead and do is modify some players that deserve it, like some All-Americans like Cesar Chavez here, who was an All-American as a true freshman. So he's going to go up to 97 overall with my boost. And basically what I did is that I just boosted like +3 in the main attributes that are related to his position. Jose Valenzuela is one of those guys. He's a sophomore, had a double-digit touchdown season. He goes up to 93 overall with that boost, and he is one of the best receivers in the country going into his junior year. And these are just examples. I did it to quite a few players, maybe like somewhere around 30 players. Here's Dwayne Hicks, the quarterback from Arizona State. We actually faced him, and I gave him a little bit of an attribute boost, and he goes up to 85 overall. Nothing huge. It's not like I'm making these guys, super elite, but just at least giving them a little bit of an attribute boost so that they can reach their full potential. So back to Marshall here. We have a lot of graduating players on both offense and defense, starting with Cole Pennington, our starting quarterback, Eric Meeks, our starting right guard, Trey Allen, Joe Slappy. 4 starters on offense, and then obviously Richter, Montgomery, and McFadden were all backups, but still, we are losing quite a bit on both sides of the football. On defense, we lose Amir Foster, who was hurt this year, but still a starter nonetheless. Leon Hart Jr. was a starter at linebacker. Jacarius Clayton was a backup. Obviously, Michael Green was a starter, was our star player. And then Peloni Franklin and Jaden Yates, also starters. So we literally lose at least 4 on each side of the football. And we look to an offseason looking to replace those guys. Before we get into recruiting, one thing I want to emphasize is that Courtney Lyles came to us after that national championship game in the offseason and wanted to talk to us about possibly switching positions over to running back. He has some very good ball carrier skills, and I know when I recruited him, I was looking at moving him over to receiver at first, but I decided to stick him at quarterback, but he has now expressed the full desire to be a running back. So now we go into an offseason looking for a new starting quarterback that is not Courtney Lyles. So we start out here with a couple of recruits to start our offseason. Caleb Uche, we already have him committed. Tony Hope is a running back. He could possibly be a pretty good future back for us. Leon Awe, elite dev tight end out of Fontana, California. He is our first California recruit here in this series. Quincy Hadralahu is a good receiver out of Alabama. Now, I know he's only normal dev, but his skills look really, really good. Carl Regis, another skill guy. He's a 4-star bust, so only normal development. But I really, really like that he has 80 power moves right now, 87 strength. It tells me he's probably going to be a good player, even though his development isn't as great. Jermaine Bosby, probably a developmental corner. And we only really have 6 recruits going into the offseason, and we're not going to have a huge class here. I talked about the transfer portal, and really the one thing that I need to get here in the transfer portal that maybe I won't be able to get in recruiting from high school is offensive linemen. And we see a couple guys here in the portal. Lane Briggs is coming over from Notre Dame looking to hit the portal. And then we have a center in Rhodes from Ohio State. So we add both of those guys to our board. And I don't even care what they are ratings wise. I know since they're coming from big schools like Ohio State and Notre Dame, they're probably going to be good. So I don't even want to waste any recruiting points on the two of them. So here's the thing. Now that Courtney Lyles has converted over to running back, we now really don't have a starter at quarterback because I'm looking at a guy like DeAndre Hendricks. I just don't think he's going to be fitting our system. We are going to be changing up our offensive scheme a little bit, but I want to go after guys that I think have a big arm, can move around. That's kind of the mold I'm looking for. And I have a couple of guys in mind on my board here like Terrell Durham, but I really, really need to just do some scouting here and figure out and see if I can find some other players we can truly go after and compete for that starting job. Like, I think this is really an open job right now, an open position that we really need to just attack here and find our right guy. Terrell Durham is really good though, 6'4", he's mobile and accurate. I think he is right now the front runner looking at all of our recruits, but let's just scout a bunch of guys. We add Markel LeBourne, but that throw power being at 85, I just don't see it. His accuracy is really good, speed at 73, but like I said, I'm looking for a guy that has at least 90 throw power. Kai Barkley, we add him to the board, and it looks like there could be real slim pickings here with the remaining recruits that are not really being heavily recruited here in the offseason. So Kai Barkley is going to be removed from the board. We scouted Tyree Peters earlier in the offseason, or earlier in the season, I should say, but he has 88 throw power, 83 short and medium. I mean, the accuracy is pretty good. The issue is that arm, though, 88. We will kind of just think about it with him, but I don't see the difference between he and DeAndre Hendricks, so that's probably going to be a no. Duke Hymas, we end up recruiting him and scouting him earlier, and then we ended up removing him from the board. But looking at his attributes, 94 throw power, 86 short, 80 medium. He's got 85 speed and 94 acceleration. I really, really like his skill set. He's only 6 foot, but he's 219 pounds. He can run the football. He's a solid quarterback, and I think that I'm going to go after him. Conrad Duke out of Connecticut, 85 throw power. So immediately when I see that throw power, I just can't do it. Like, we've tried to play with Hendricks, even he only has 89 throw power, and I saw like the difference in trying to get the ball to receivers quickly. There's a pretty big difference. Steve Gooden, really, really good here, 92 throw power. The accuracy isn't in the 80s. He is mobile though, 82 speed, 89 acceleration. And then one more guy here, Javier Tercero. Now he's just at that 90 throw power that I want, 84 short, 83 medium. But I decided to go back out here and scout some more because I wasn't too happy with that first crop. So I decided to add Williams there, Cordell Dora as well. I looked at Miguel Gaston for a second. Quincy Terzili, what a name that is. So we decided to add these three to our board. Marquise Williams, I gave him a scholarship on accident there. Looking at his throw power, 94. Okay, this is what we've been looking for here. Short accuracy at 85, medium at 84, speed at 82, which is good. 92 acceleration. He's got the Option King ability along with off platform. I believe the Option King has to do with pitches, so he is efficient with his pitches. And then fan favorite, he is at a platinum, so a really good player that we see out of Marquise Williams. Cordell Dora out of Clearwater, Florida. One thing I like about getting these Florida guys is they're going to be fast. He has 85 speed, 89 acceleration, 93 throw power, and looking at the accuracy, I mean, it's pretty similar to what we saw in Marquise Williams. The only thing with Dora is that he is 1 inch smaller. I'm not sure that's a big factor, but that does put him at 5'11". Like, he's not a big quarterback, but he is 85 speed, 89 acceleration, a bit faster, but not as quick as we see from Williams. So I decide to add all 4 of those quarterbacks to the board. So, to the top of our board, I should say. Jaimes, Dora, Williams, and then Durham was already there, I guess. So those are going to be our top 4 going into week 2. We do end up going after a kicker in Gordon Woods and getting him to commit. That was a big priority for me because kicking was actually pretty challenging this season because there were some field goals where I don't like to fill the meter all the way up because I don't want to risk missing it. And our kicker just didn't have the leg to get there. So Brent Rhodes, we end up changing his send the house over to hard selling now because obviously we have the ability to do that now that we are in the top 3. And looking at what he likes, championship contender probably is the best hard sell for him. And so I'm going to look at some things that he may like here. In championship contender, conference prestige, and proximity to home. We don't have 2 of those, but at least we can guess what those other 2 interests are. Lane Briggs, we kind of do the same thing with. Make sure we get him in. I just realized he's 6'7", 296. He is an absolute monster. So it looks like these are probably going to be his sell here. So we decide to move on to the next week. And Terrell Durham does officially commit. So at least we have one of the quarterbacks we have been looking at. Tyrone Evenson, a tight end out of Opelika, Florida. And I think our recruiting class is starting to shape out a little bit. Lane Briggs is first on our list, or we're first on his list. Rhodes does commit to South Carolina, so that kind of sucks. And then the 3 quarterbacks we added in Jaimes, Dora, and Williams all have us listed first. So I'm not even going to change anything. I'm just going to sim to the next week and see if they do commit. Lane Briggs officially does, so that is awesome. We get 1 transfer portal player this offseason. Connor Mare was a JUCO defensive tackle, so I can develop him a little bit more. He's going to come in as a sophomore. Cordell Dora commits. Marquise Williams also commits. So we get 2 of those 3 quarterbacks, and I'm wondering what happened to Jaimes, but it looks like he does end up committing. He just didn't get the animation. Lane Briggs, obviously our top offseason get here as a right tackle. Terrell Durham, he's normal development. Duke Jaimes does commit. He is a normal development as well. Cordell Dora is an impact development. So I definitely do weigh that in the decision on if they will play early on. Marquise Williams is normal development. All 3 of those quarterbacks are pretty similar. Like I would really have to dig deep to see what the main difference between those 2 are. And we're going to see them in practice a little bit later now that they did commit. Tony Hope, a really good running back. I like him because he's star development and he is 93 speed. He's going to be interesting in the future. Leon All, we already knew, is elite development. So he's going to play probably pretty early on in his career. Quincy Hadralahu, obviously, normal development. Carl Regis, normal development. Jermaine Bosby, impact development. So he will have some time to develop. Tyrone Evenson ends up being impact as well. We do have quite a few tight ends on our roster. I'm not sure what his playing time is going to be with us. Jared Radigan was a outside linebacker from Wisconsin. He is an impact dev. Connor Mare is just a normal dev. DeMarco Bruce is going to be a walk-on. He is a normal dev, and some other normal dev players that we get here in this class. Only 18. But somehow we end up with a higher ranked class than the other years. I don't feel like this class was as strong. I'm really surprised at that. Maybe that was just a microcosm of what this year's recruiting class looked like. I don't think there were too many elite guys that I discovered this year, but we end up with a higher ranked class in our years past with a lot less players. So going into position changes, obviously the guys you recruited at quarterback, they were all athletes, so I will move those guys over. Courtney Lyles officially moves over to running back. His overall actually goes up to, this is before training, by the way, so he is a 74 overall running back, and this is what I was talking about when I first recruited him. He was actually a higher rated running back than he was a quarterback, so that kind of makes sense that when we do switch his position over, he is a running back that is higher overall. Cordell Dora, I look at his attributes and I actually think that he could have a future at defensive back, mostly as a slot cornerback. So I initially thought I would have him at quarterback, but having 4 quarterbacks you recruit probably doesn't make sense. And he was an athlete, so I'm going to put him on defense, even though he does have some passing skills. I like his defensive skills, at least to start out now, and he can develop those. So other position changes, we decide to even out the linebackers. Chasen Clark goes over to middle linebacker. Jared Radigan goes over to left outside linebacker. Tim Ramesh is the leading right outside linebacker. I'm hoping that he can kind of take that job and kind of be the starter there because we recruited him last offseason. So now we go into training, and this is really where we see who will be the starters going into next season. How about this? David Hardwick Jr., the walk-on back in season 1, has developed after a couple of years, and now he is 88 overall. He was a star dev, so he had no choice but to develop, but some star devs really don't develop at all, to be honest with you, and he and Chasen Clark are both the highest 2 overall guys on the team. They're going to play right next to each other. Should be fun to watch the both of them in the middle of our defense. How about Ashton Heflin too? He is the 3rd highest overall guy on the team. 3 middle linebackers. Dwayne Gardner was a recruit last season. He played quite a few snaps towards the end of the season and actually did forego that freshman eligibility, that red shirt, but he actually develops a 99 block shed. Wow. What a big offseason from him. He's at 85 overall. Last year, he was at 74. So he goes up 11 overall in his first offseason. A lot of guys do improve. Brian Santana goes up from, I believe, a 76 to an 83 overall. And we'll highlight some other big offseasons here. But looking at Courtney Lyles, remember when we changed his position, he was at 74 overall. He went up 4 overall as a running back. That's more than he jumped at quarterback. At quarterback, I believe he jumped from a 68 to a 71. And at running back, he jumps from a 74 to a 78. One thing I like about switching his position, his skill caps didn't change. He pretty much has the same number of skill caps there. So with all of these attributes here, he can still get a whole lot better as a sophomore running back. Dylan Gilliam in the offseason, he improved a little bit. I think it was just 2 overall, maybe 1 to be honest with you. But he didn't have too much room to grow athletically, but he does get a little bit stronger, and he goes up to 76 overall. At receiver, DeJuan Whitehead finally has the offseason that we've been waiting for from him. Because remember, he was like a 67 overall receiver coming in, and then he went up to 67 or 68 last offseason, like very, very minimal, and now he's up to an 80. So that's really, really good. I don't know if the offseason boosts are random or not, but I would have expected him to really have a bigger offseason in the past. But he has had some good seasons coming off of his first 1,000-yard season. Then there's Hashim Banagu, who I really, really like. 6'4", 6'5" receiver. He has totally maxed out now. So 2 big off seasons from Hashim Banagu, and this is the kind of progression that you like. Like, he is absolutely maxed out. He's probably going to be the outside receiver for us, though. So really good training for him. Tracy Augustine was our top recruit, at least on the offensive side of the ball, a year ago, and he has got up to a 76 overall. So very, very happy about that. I imagine him really getting a lot of playing time this year. And then a guy that I really liked last offseason in recruiting was Robert Session. He's got a lot of room to grow still with his route running. He could easily be in the 80s next offseason and this season if he ends up having a good year. So he's going to get some playing time, and he is our fastest receiver on our roster. At tight end, we have Aiden Steinfeld, who's going to be the leader. Leon Awe is obviously going to play, and just a lot of tight ends there. So I definitely plan on encouraging some transfers at that position. Our offensive line is a little bit better. Isaac Darnold was our starting center, and I was thinking about replacing him in the offseason, especially going after Rhodes, but he ends up having 99 lead block now, so he's really, really good at blocking for the run. Bruce Finch had a big offseason. I did not even expect this at all. He goes up to 76 overall, and I'm just very curious on what our offensive line is going to look like. Leighton Briggs did not train in the offseason, but he comes in at 75 overall as a redshirt freshman, actually. So we do have all 4 years of Lane Bridge, and he is star development too. So he's going to be a guy that develops, and Lloyd Thurman goes up to overall. He was the 4-star right tackle we recruited last offseason. One guy on defense I want to highlight here is Alex Holdman, because he was an elite dev player out of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin back in season number 1. And now finally, after 2 off seasons, he has gone from a 66 overall all the way up to an 80 overall. It took 2 off seasons to do it, but he finally got the growth that I was looking for. Kelechi Nwangwu does go up a couple of overalls, but he gets some physical abilities inside and outside disruptor. So very, very good. And I'm glad that he got that so that we can do better at stopping the pass and the run. And also, one guy I want to highlight here in our secondary is Corey Myrick. Has not developed at all as far as his overall goes in the past 2 seasons, but now he has 2 platinum skills with bouncer. House call he had last year. I believe that was a platinum last year, but now he has bouncer as a platinum. And then one guy that had a big offseason that we recruited last year, Darvion Childers. Now, he was a star development cornerback. He's going to play both sides of the football, by the way, and he also has some abilities, and he's ready to start right now as a redshirt freshman. I'm very, very happy about that some of the freshmen that we recruited, we redshirted them, let them develop, and now they are really good. One of those guys that I did not expect was Esteban Weeks. He ends up being higher overall than Jason Keener, who started last year as a true freshman. So that's going to be interesting. Is Keener going to get on the field? He's not as fast as what is Esteban Weeks going to get on the field. He's not as fast as what Keener was, and I think that it's going to be just interesting to see some of these guys that have maybe not been on the radar to get some playing time, but now they might. Looking around the conference, I wanted to look at other teams, and you can do this in this step. Go to other teams and look at the training there. But Colorado's quarterback Ezekiel Anujangu, and also what we just saw from TCU's quarterback in Lowe, they definitely had a big offseason, and they look poised to be the starters here in season number 4. And then Tennessee's sophomore quarterback has gone up to 95 overall. By the way, I think he was an All-American as a freshman last year. Very, very good. I believe he had 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and now he's 95 overall. He is amazing. I wanted to check out Louisiana because this is a team that joined the Big 12 with us, and it looks like they might have a new starting quarterback in Enrique Harris, who is pretty maxed out. Like, this is probably the best he's going to get, but he has 94 speed. I just saw that for a second. 92 throw power. He's going to be good. But they did lose Elijah Davis, who has been their starter at running back the last 3 years, to the NFL. So they will have some work to do as far as getting their roster up to speed again. And then West Virginia had a couple of nice off seasons. One for Russell Westbrook. He went up to 92 overall. Now, he did get a boost from us, but then he got another boost on top of that with training. Don Canada got a big boost for West Virginia. He's got the inside disruptor, outside disruptor, option disruptor, and recoup. That is an excellent combination of skills to have. And then I talked about Russell Westbrook. When I gave him a boost, he was at about 85 overall. And then the offseason put him at 92. So he definitely got like the maximum boost you will probably get in this series. Now we move on to the encouraged transfers phase. And one thing that I noted here that I could not make DeAndre Hendricks transfer. I'm not even sure why. but I could not encourage him to transfer for some reason. Ja'Kai Long, we actually encouraged to transfer. He has been a lifelong backup for us, and he's not going to fit the system, so might as well give him playing time somewhere else and see if he can compete. Rashad Thomas is a guy that I wanted to also encourage to transfer. He's going into a senior season, but he's not going to play with us. Clyde Henson, Ian Foster, guys like that. So I got the roster down to 80 to naturally have a good size at our roster and then move on to the custom conferences here. So what I decided to do is I decided to put the original Pac-10 together in the Pac-12. So it is the original Pac-10 teams. And then last year I ended up swapping BYU along with I believe it was Cincinnati over to the Sun Belt. But now I put BYU back in the Big 12 and put Boise State in the Big 12. But actually recently I just heard that Boise State's going to be joining the Pac-12 in 2026. So they're going to be in our conference for 1 year, and then I will switch them over. So let's talk about our schedule going into season number 4. We will finally face our rivals in ECU. This is one of Marshall's biggest rivals, to be honest, here, and we finally faced them for the first time. They have a pretty good 4-star quarterback, but that should be more of a tune-up game for us. We then go on the road to face Miami, and remember, Miami has Quincy Daly, one of the quarterbacks we were recruiting early on in the year. Unfortunately, he ended up committing to Miami, and we just did not get a chance. I think he wanted to go there all along. But he is buried on that depth chart, so I don't know when he's going to play. Then we return home and we play Penn State. So this is going to be a very tough game. They actually have the number 2 recruit in the country in Earl Faust at quarterback. He's going to be really, really good, but he's probably not going to play this year. So unfortunately, we don't get to face, a 5-star quarterback here in season number 4, at least as a freshman. But we do get to face the highest overall guy in the entire game in Cesar Chavez, who actually still can probably improve to a higher overall. Look at that run support. He's pretty much like not even close to halfway. So he's going to be really good. And then we go on the road and we will face Texas again. We faced them in the college football playoff and lost, and we will face them again here in season 4. Arch Manning does return. He does not go to the NFL. He returns for his senior season. He will get to throw to Jackson Bowers, his leading tight end, so he will have a different weapon to play with in season 4. Our Big 12 conference schedule looks like this. Kansas was the worst team in the Big 12 last year. Houston, we actually ended up losing to last year, so I'm happy to play them again. Colorado, Louisiana, so we play Louisiana this year. Iowa State, we lost to them as well. And then West Virginia, we will end the year in Big 12 play playing West Virginia. So that's going to be a very fun schedule for us. I wanted to look at a couple of key guys going into this season before looking at a little bit of the quarterback competition here in camp. Caleb Uche is 75 overall. He was really my top recruit going into this season, and he's going to get some playing time. He's got high finesse moves as a defensive tackle. And here is the first look at Courtney Lyles as a running back. He looks bigger. He went into the offseason and did some training, and it looks like he is poised to go with that 99 ball carrier vision. Can't wait to see him. And then Quincy Hadralahu was a 4-star receiver. I'm probably going to end up redshirting him just because of our depth at receiver and seeing what he turns into in the future. His skill caps are actually really low, which is concerning. I'm surprised he came in with those skill caps. So now we go into kind of this offseason quarterback battle. We have 3 guys that are competing for the starting job. And let's first start with number 15, Terrell Durham. Now, his throw power is not going to get higher than what it is. His accuracy is going to improve, and so is his IQ. His skill caps are okay. He still has some room to grow. Not a ton, though, but he is a guy that comes in right away, and he's extremely accurate. 6'4". He did miss that pass right there as I said that, but here in practice, like, he was making some pretty decent throws. I'm seeing what the throws he can make. There's Aiden Steinfeld with a nice catch right there. Here is Gilliam. You know he can run the football too. Here is a read option give, and he just ends up keeping it. Here's a screen pass out to Courtney Lyles. These are the easy throws, and we're probably going to get them a lot of these. But look at Lyles, though. He looks like a natural out there. But I like Durham. He is a taller quarterback, and he can do a lot of things with his arm. But let's move on to the number 2 quarterback here that is in this competition, Duke Hymas. One thing I like about him is that he is more of a runner. Like, he has high acceleration at 94. That is the highest of any quarterback on the roster. Would have been higher than Courtney Lyles, too. And the thing about him is that he has those abilities that can help him extend plays, can run the option efficiently. I really, really like that. Here he is taking off, trying to get away from David Hardwick there, but he can't. And Chasen Clark is also going to be a fast linebacker for us. But here is a great throw here in the spring. And look at that. Hashim Banagu just outrunning Corey Myrick. That was a dime of a throw. Here he is getting away from pressure, and this is what I'm talking about here. If he can do this, it's going to be a weapon we have not had here in this series. The pressure was coming from the right side. He quickly found the space and took off, and that's just something that adds to an offense that, man, it's just such a great thing to have. And then finally, there's Marquise Williams. Look at his skill caps. He's already capped out with everything, which is crazy. Like, he cannot grow as a quarterback. This is what he is. So with that alone, he's probably going to be a backup for us. He's probably not going to be competing for the starting job because I want a quarterback that can grow. Even though I've seen some things in practice I really, really liked. Look at these throws. He's making some accurate throws. And he looks comfortable at quarterback. But I think right now I want a quarterback who can get better. And Williams right now, I just don't see it. This is a possible future position that maybe isn't quarterback for us. Like, I think that Marquise Williams has a future with us. I'm just not sure what it is, though. Like, he has those skills, but he just can't grow. So that definitely makes me think that maybe he's not a quarterback. But that's going to do it here for the offseason. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Obviously, we didn't go too hard in recruiting. We had to find a new quarterback. That was priority number 1, along with our offensive line. And hopefully, with the offseason training, we will get better at stopping the run. That was a big priority for us as well. So hit subscribe, hit that like button. Hope you guys are ready for season number 4. Should be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.